Good afternoon on a beautiful day in Tempe, Arizona, on this, the 19th of November, 2011, and Dr. Chet Snow's Emergence Conference with the theme of Expanding Reality Beyond 2012. Please welcome our host and speaker, Dr. Chet Snow, who will be telling us about another exciting event in June of 2012. Dr. Snow.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you very much to Harry Hover, who has been one of our conference co-managers for many years, and both he and his wife, we thank them so much for their service over all that time. Thank you. Well, it is always a pleasure to be with family, to talk about interesting things, and this is somewhat new for me. I've only ever talked on this subject really once before. But first, this is the cover of my book, Mass Dreams of the Future, and I want to draw your attention to the subtitle, Do We Face an Apocalypse or a Global Spiritual Awakening? The choice is ours. The Mayans were particularly interested in Venus, and they had two different calendars. In fact, they had several, but one calendar was the 9-moon or 260-day Zolkin or sacred calendar, and they also had the Hab solar calendar of 365 days. In fact, the Mayans were such good astronomers that their calendars were the closest of any calendar to coming to name the exact length of a terrestrial year until we had the atomic clock. They knew really down to very, very precise angle how long an Earth year was. Now, these two calendars, one of which is obviously the period of human gestation, 9 months, 9 moons, 9 months being in the mother, and the solar calendar, so one is a lunar, one is a solar, they interlock and coincide every 52 years, just as you see here, locking wheels. Now, a Venus cycle was also calculated, and it was found to equal exactly 2 of the calendar rounds, as they were called by the Mayans, or 104 years. And so we find that the average between the Venus transit is approximately 104 years. Transit simply means eclipse. It means the time when Venus comes between the sun and the earth, so that as we look for Venus in the sky, we see it up against the sun, so that all of the energy of the sun comes through Venus before it comes to the earth. And there is also an outer conjunction of Venus, which is when the sun is between us and Venus, and also in the same period. And obviously that one we can't see because all we see is the ball of the sun. We don't, but we know that by the trajectory where Venus is on the other side. Now, the Mayans actually had a 5-level calendar starting out with kin or day, going up through their various counts to Baktun, which was the highest level, which represented centuries in our count, and they were based on 20. Each long count cycle, therefore, equals approximately 5,125 years, or 13 Baktuns. A great cycle, which is our cycle according to the Mayans, started the current one back in 3113 BC, or before the Common Era, the time that is known as the time when the pyramids may have been built, and certainly a flourishing of ancient Egyptian culture took place at that time. And we know that it ends or comes to a changing point in 2012, not very far away, a year and a month from now. Now, the Venus cycle actually is, as I say, Earth and Venus and the Sun. This is the transit of Venus, and we have what's called an ascending node of Venus and a descending node of Venus as it goes around. So the Venus cycle that goes around the sun in 584 days equals 1.61 times Earth's cycle of 365 days. What's very fascinating about this is every 3 Venus cycles equals 8 Earth years. This ratio of 1.61 is known in sacred geometry as phi, or the golden mean. And humans are hardwired in our ascetic brain, in the part of our brain that appreciates proportion, to find this particular ratio, 1.61, to be very appealing. It also is reflected in the average human body, and so the Greeks and the Romans and Leonardo da Vinci rediscovered it in the Renaissance, all knew that the parts of the body also come to an approximate 1.61 set of numbers. So here we have the golden mean. Now, geometrically, this looks like a 5-pointed star, and here you see that being filmed and shown as Venus goes through a pentagonal series. Venus and the Earth as they are around they'll start again, they go to the opposite, around, and so viewed from the Earth, we see Venus as a 5-pointed star. And all of the ancient cultures knew this. I'll let it go one more time. You really can see it. I think it's very lovely graphic and very interesting and good knowledge to know. The angles then come up to the 1.6, which is the 36-degree angle. So here you see phi is the ratio of the red to the green, or it's the ratio of the green to the blue, or it's the ratio of the blue to the purple in that 5-pointed star. And here is what it actually looks like in cycles of 8 years, 5 cycles of Venus in the 8 years. And here's the mathematics of it over here. So that they coincide with the 2 Mayan calendars, as I said, every 104 years, or 2 times 52 years, which the Mayans call the Venus round. So you have the sacred calendar round, 52-year coming together, and then the Venus round, where it comes together every 104 years. Now, Venus also, as I say, makes the transit across the sun in a pair 8 years apart, approximately between 104 and 122 years. We are approaching the second pair of the Venus transit, which will be due on June 6th, 2012, and June 5th, 2012, when viewed in our hemisphere. It's June 6th when viewed in Asia, June 5th when viewed in our hemisphere, due to the date line in the middle of the Pacific. The transits then were in 2004 and 2012. And that's, as I say, when the Venus comes between the sun and the Earth at slightly different positions, not very far apart, and actually over long periods of time, these have come either in the months of May, June, or November, December, and it flips on the other side. That is one of the properties of the relationships between Venus and the Earth astronomically with our solar powerhouse, the sun, and we see in between how it makes the 5-pointed star. As we move forward in this time, we are coming toward the 2012, and we've already gone through the 2004 pair of Venus transits. The crop circles in England and other places have been highlighting Venus and this 5-pointed star, the pentagonal synoptic series, for several years. Here are 2 from last year, just to give you differing views, but they both have the same message, essentially, 5-point star geometry. And we go all the way back to 2002, when the first, what has been called Mayan glyph, was interpreted in the crop circles in England. It may be that some even go further back than that. This glyph that you see here going around the outside actually in Mayan means the ancient ones or the ancestors. Sometimes it's said to mean the rift in the Milky Way galaxy. And that, of course, is what the Mayan calendar tells us in 2012, that the dark rift in the Milky Way galaxy lines up with the solar system. So that at a certain point, actually, it astronomically is probably already starting for this year between 2011 and 2013, we will be aligned with that dark part of the Milky Way galaxy and the center of the Milky Way galaxy, which is the pulsar that is in there. I'm sure some of you know that as this is happening, Earth and the Sun are decreasing in their magnetic force. And because of that decrease, we are getting a lot more cosmic energies in the form of gamma rays and other particle rays to the surface of the Earth, and in fact right through us every minute, than we have in the past, in any of our lives, and in fact going back thousands of years. And this was part, no doubt, of what the Mayans were saying is important about 2012, that we line up with this center of the galaxy. Because the transit means that Venus will be directly in front of the sun viewed from Earth, so that the sun's rays coming to Earth on that afternoon or that day will be coming through the planet Venus. And therefore, the Hawaiians have said to us, that means that it will be coming through the spirit of aloha, or of love, of peace, sort of like shalom to the ancient Hebrews. The transit of 82 was in December, and guess what happened in August of 83? The largest volcanic eruption in history in Krakatoa in Indonesia, which again was on the sunset line approximately, just a little to the side of it. There was the tsunami that came out from Krakatoa, and it even affected the east coast of the United States. That's how widespread it was. Not so much in the North Pacific, interestingly enough, but all the way around South America up to the north. Now, in the 18th century, you go back to 1762, there was a tsunami in Japan after a Burmese earthquake, which was again 6 to 8 months after the Venus transit of December 1761. This is a very famous Japanese woodcut showing Fuji and the huge wave that decimated the coast of Japan at that time in 1762. Let's go back further. We go back to the 400 AD time. This is a woodcut showing an ancient village in India being hit by an earlier Krakatoa eruption, taking place within 12 months of a Venus transit. Always after the Venus transit, never at the Venus transit. Something, according to what we can read and see from historical events, happens during the Venus transit that unleashes the warlike, conflictual aspect of Venus certain places on the Earth. We know, and I truly believe, that combined human thought and action can always change, mitigate, make better such circumstances that are possibilities and probabilities. With knowledge of inclinations of planets and stars, people worldwide can begin to make a comeback. This has already started as forecast. There is much, much more to come. Being informed of what, when, and where is a first step. Watching for signs of the times as we approach 2012 and the transit next June is a second step. Learning from our elders is a third step. That's why my wife and I, for our 2012 event, primary event is going to be what we're calling the Aloha-Wisdom Gathering, bringing together certain native elders from the Pacific and the Americas and possibly other places, but particularly the Pacific and the Americas. And Grandmother Flor de Mayo has joined us in this, and we just found out this week she will be with us, to go to where the Venus transit will be entirely visible. In the United States, there were two possibilities. One is Alaska, one is Hawaii. So obviously we chose Hawaii. I think you'll agree with us that that's a positive choice. Here we are gathered in Pele's land with Auntie Pua, an important kahuna, Auntie Maile, some other Hawaiians, my wife, and the rainbow blessed our prayer that afternoon. After we finished our ceremony, this rainbow occurred. You could see it all the way across the sky as we're out on the lava field on the Big Island. We plan to have it near in Kona or on the Big Island in any case. We'll be letting people know more about it as we get closer to that time. Join us in Hawaii in June of 2012. Right now the page says a work in progress. We do have the 4dwisdom.org, which is a 501c3 charity, recognized charity, and we will be beginning to ask for donations, and we will begin to set up packages to come to join from June 2 to 6 of 2012 to be with the elders. So at the time of the transit, on the land, in conjunction and in relation with Mother Earth, at the place where the volcanic activity goes deep into the heart of Mother Earth, very close to the line of the transit, we can ask for mitigation. We can ask for positive change instead of negative boomerang to come from this event. For us, this is one of the most significant and important aspects of 2012, and it's something that we can do together, we can't do alone. So we call for your cooperation. We ask for your action. Thank you very much. Namaste.